Hello, I'm going to show you how to wrap clay so that when you wrap your own clay, you don't accidentally wrap it in such a way that it dries out. Nobody wants to have to recycle a project, and it's super inconvenient too, especially if we're nearing a deadline. So there's a couple different ways I'm going to show you how to wrap clay. The first way I'm going to show you is if you just have a regular ball of clay. In order to wrap a ball of clay, what you need to do is just grab any old bag that you have. Make sure there's no holes in it. If there is a hole in it, if it's a large hole, then it's an issue. But if it's a really tiny hole, sometimes it doesn't even affect it at all. It just kind of depends on how you wrap it. So you're going to take your clay. If it's a ball of clay, you can just take that ball of clay. Mine's kind of flattish. Put it in your bag, and then you're going to be pushing the bag up against the clay, making sure that the bag touches the clay. And what happens too, my clay's a little bit dry here, but if it's wet clay, the bag likes to stick to it, the plastic. And then I like to rotate it and flip it over on itself and store it in on my shelf this way. I always too like it when you label your bags of clay. So I have a little board here. If you don't have a labeled box, you're probably going to want to put it on a labeled board. Put it on top of the board, take the whole thing to your shelf. One thing I want to make sure is noted is that you never want to put your board inside of your bag. These little corners will poke little holes in the bag and then cause your clay to dry out, which is what we're trying to avoid, quite frankly. Now, another way you can wrap clay, so this example, I'm going to use a bag that has red clay on it. So if you are trying to use, if we're kind of low on other bags and all that's in there is a red clay bag, you can actually fix that by flipping it inside out. And that way, the clay, the red clay is on the outside, and then the inside should actually be clean. So I'm going to take a slab this time. So I have a pre-rolled slab here. I don't want to have to crumple this into a ball and do the slab all over again. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the slab inside of my bag. Try not to deform your slab too much. Once it's inside the bag, I'm going to make sure the bag's nice and flat around it. Then I'm going to push down the bag on top of the clay, and this is wet clay, so you can really see here how it's sticking to the clay. Then I'm going to start to kind of fold in the sides and roll it up. Think kind of like a burrito. Roll it up, pushing everything in until you've got a nice little burrito slab, right? Same deal as before, put it somewhere where it is labeled, right? So I'm going to put it on top of a labeled board. Now, you will notice that I did not wrap this with my clay. These will mold, paper towels will mold, so you really don't want to store things like this in your bag. All right, so I have a project here that I'm going to show you how to wrap. So for a project, you can grab a bag, try to make sure that there's no holes in the bag. You're going to put your project carefully inside of your bag, and then you're going to work from the bottom, pushing in. I even will like rotate the bag around, kind of twist it, push it in around the shape itself. See how I'm really pushing out all of the air on my bag? Twist it, and then you can store it so that it's sitting on top of the wrapped part of the bag. You can grab a rubber band, whatever you need to do, just make sure that this is still closed and that you've pushed out as much air as you possibly can. So this is one way to do a project. Another way to do a project is if you have an incredibly delicate project or a project that's kind of hard to wrap. So this project itself is more difficult to wrap. So I have a special way of wrapping that. It's called tenting the bag. So if I'm going to do that, I need a brand new bag. So the bags that are in the container are not brand new bags, and they probably have holes in them. So you'll have to ask me for a brand new bag, where to find one. And I'm going to put my project inside of this brand new bag. And I'm going to be trapping air in this bag. So to trap the air in there, I need to make sure that the air is going to stay kind of wet. So I'm going to take a spray bottle and I'm going to spray 2 squirts into my bag. You don't need a lot. Too much water can cause your project to actually collapse. Then I am going to lift up, and I want to note too that I sprayed the side of the bag. I did not spray the project. So I want the air in there to be nice and wet. So then I'm going to create a nice little bubble, like so. Twist the bag. Once I have a really nice twist in my bag, at the top of my bag, I'm going to tie a little knot. I'm going to make it a slip knot so it's easy to take apart. But you'll notice that when I squeeze the bag, it maintains that nice little bubble. If you squeeze the bag and your hands can come all the way in, you may have a hole in your bag and you might need to use a different bag. Once it's in this bag, once again, you're going to pick it up carefully, place it on top of your labeled board. Kind of see it there. All right. You can put the whole thing in your cabinet just like this. And because the air is moist inside of the bag, it should prevent your project from drying out. So those are the couple different ways, methods of wrapping your projects. And if you ever need to refer back to this video, you can. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned something.